I was a young boy and had big plans. Now I'm just another shitty old man. I don't have fun. I hate everything. And the world owes me. So, fuck you! Glory days? They don't mean shit to me. I drank a 6-pack of apathy. Life's a bitch. So am I. The world owes me. So fuck you. Wasted youth. Fistful ideals. I had a young and optimistic point of view. Yeah. Wasted youth, fistful ideals. Yeah. Young, optimistic point of view. Now I'm decomposed. Look, my gut's getting fat. Oh my god. Turning out like my dad. I'm always rude. Got a bad attitude. The world owes me. So fuck you? Sorry everybody, welcome to another episode of Johnsequitur. Why did the lyrics have to end on that? It's been 1 year since I've started this show. The quality has not improved one bit, but we're going to change things a little bit. We're going to start making it weekly. Now, in order to do that, we need to fill a lot more time with a lot more junk. So, today's episode is going to be on railways in the US as compared to railways in Europe. We're also going to have this week's logical fallacy and this week's meme and just all kinds of little shit that I'm going to throw in that I would normally spend 3 minutes talking about, which I probably will again. So let's get started with railways. The high-speed and intercity passenger rail program's current investments, almost 85% of the money that goes to these goes to the following. The one that goes from San Francisco to Los Angeles, the one that goes from Boston to New York to Washington, D.C., the one that goes from Seattle to Portland to Eugene, the one that goes from Charlotte to Washington, D.C., the one that goes from Chicago to St. Louis, and the one that goes from Chicago to Detroit. Now, if you're looking at the map that I'm looking at right now, from west of Kansas City to California, there are no railways. If there are, they're not that important. Why am I bringing this up? Because if you were to go to Europe right now, you could get from literally country to country, not just state to state, but country to country, riding railways. That's because Europe puts $73 billion in subsidies towards rail companies, whereas the US puts $1.3 billion. What confuses me is, whenever you bring up the idea of making a car that does not run on fossil fuels, rather than say, okay, we should work on that more and improve it, it's, well, it doesn't currently work in its current format, so fuck it. Let's just go dig more shit out of the ground. It's fine. Okay, fine. You want to drive cars. You don't like the idea of public transportation because buses are places where people whip their penises out. Well, what about trains? These things move at like 110 miles an hour, which, by the way, is a lot slower than the shit that happens in Europe. Those things are fucking humming. These things are not humming. 110, though, is still faster than you can drive unless you're high on flakka. But there are no trains in Florida, so you kind of have to do that to get from place to place fast. And hopefully you don't murder or eat anybody during this trip. China actually spent $128 billion in subsidiaries on their trains, too. And they're a crowded place. But they can get from place to place without having to deal with traffic. Why won't the U.S. do this? Because the U.S. has the auto industry. Because the U.S. wants to spend more money on other things. You always hear people say, I'm mad that my taxes go to this or that or this or that, you know. And by the way, if you actually looked up what your taxes went to and you were mad about people getting welfare because of your taxes, they're not getting nearly a big enough percentage to really give a shit. But the same goes for public transportation. The money that comes from the budget that goes to that, not good. Am I calling for them to do something about it? No. I'm wearing a Cannibal Holocaust t-shirt. You know there's a guy or a woman being staked through the mouth right there? Yeah, they're going to listen to me when I tell them that they should put more money into public transportation, specifically trains, specifically fast trains that are efficient, like they do in Europe. Am I one of those people that's like, everything's better in Europe? Fuck no! Soccer is shitty. It's mostly because I watch it here, and it's a poor sport when you're watching it in the United States. Everybody sucks at it, because nobody cares, because everybody sucks, because nobody cares. I'm sorry, going on a tangent. Well, if you want to find out some statistics on trains, go to cms.gov or eceurope.eu or savus.open data, just transportation.gov. Go to transportation.gov. Do not go to statista.com. They charge you $49 a month to look at numbers. I tried Google. Google took me to that. Just tell me the numbers. That's all I want is the numbers. I'm all for trains. That's what I'm getting at here. Okay, so today's logical fallacy is the false cause fallacy. Many people confuse correlation, things happening together or in a sequence, for causation, the one thing that actually causes the other to happen. Sometimes correlation is coincidental or maybe an attribute to a common cause. The example they give is, pointing to a fancy chart, Roger showed how temperatures have been rising over the past few centuries, while at the same time the number of pirates have been decreasing. Thus pirates cool the world and global warming is a hoax. Mine is always, okay, if you roll snake eyes, and then you roll snake eyes, and then you roll snake eyes, you think that because you've rolled snake eyes 3 times in a row, it can't possibly happen again. And so when it doesn't happen again, you say it's because you rolled snake eyes 3 times in a row. Each roll is independent of itself, though. You only need to look at it in that scenario. Today's meme of the day is this beautiful thing where a mom is like laughing because her kid's swearing, laughing because her kid's shaking her ass, then buying her short shorts and wondering how she got pregnant. It says, "Where did I go wrong?" You went wrong because you didn't say use a condom. It's pretty easy, right? When kids ask you, where do babies come from? And you're going to let them swear, you're going to let them shake their ass, and you're going to let them dress like a stripper. They can do all that if you really don't give a fuck. But if you really don't give a fuck, you can also throw in there exactly where babies come from. Sperm leaves the penis and enters the egg. Now, the sperm has to fight off hundreds of other sperm because it really wants to have a grilled cheese sandwich with blue cheese when it gets older, and it's not going to let these other motherfuckers get there first. So it gets in there, and then cells start dividing, and then through magic, and I do mean magic, suddenly a baby is conceived inside of a human being. A human being grows inside of a human being. And when it's forced out of the vagina, my God, the vagina is a wreck. Unless you get a C-section, and that means cutting your stomach open and pulling the baby out and then stitching it together, and that scar will be there forever. But sure, go have sex, it's fine. Don't use a condom or anything, because all of that stuff that I just described to you, it might not happen. Oh no, it did! Don't! And God forbid we have abortions because we let our child swear and we let our child have sex and wear stripper clothing, but we're somehow morally against getting rid of a baby that can't be raised properly because nobody will pay for it and nobody will be able to take care of it because they don't have the mental capacity to do it. Ah! Real quick before we go, I want to remind everybody of something we're going to be doing every single episode, which is I'm going to give you a song to listen to and I'm going to give you a movie to watch, and then we'll talk about it a tiny bit the following week. The song I want you to listen to is Deadbeat Holiday by Green Day. Why? Because it's Thanksgiving! Ha! And the movie I want you to watch is Primer. Is Primer on Netflix? I don't know. Maybe if it's not, try Amazon Prime or try something else. It's about a group of guys who were trying to put together a refrigeration unit and accidentally discovered time travel, and then decide the best thing to do is to find stock prices, and there's a bunch of nonsense going on, and you know what? I'm not going to tell you anything else about it. Watch it! It's awesome! Alright, I'll be back next week with a story about how a bunch of people like to be religiously persecuted. BDSM. See you then!